he was 20, she was 13. He wanted zero contact with the baby. That disturbing reality is the anchor dragging Karl Malone's legacy into the abyss. While his stats say legend, the public verdict is crumbling his image. Everyone from NBA icons to guys with microphones has been tearing him apart. But here is the twist. The Mailman has finally had enough and is firing back at his critics. Before we dig into the cracks in his empire, smash that like button and subscribe. Malone stands as one of the most dominant forces to ever step on the hardwood, yet easily the most polarizing figure in American sports lore. Drafted 13th back in 1985 by Utah, the man known as the Mailman earned that nickname because he delivered on time, every time, building a resume that looks absolutely video game broken. We are talking 36,928 points, landing him firmly at third on the all-time scoring mountain. He snatched 14,968 rebounds and took home the MVP hardware twice in 97 and 99. 14 All-Star nods, 11 straight first-team All-NBA selections, tied for second best ever, trailing only LeBron James, and he locked down 3 first-team All-Defensive spots. His chemistry with John Stockton created a pick-and-roll offense so lethal it kept the Jazz in the title hunt for nearly 20 years. The franchise hung his number 32 in the rafters back in 2006. By 2010, he was a 2-time Hall of Famer, entering as a solo act and a member of the immortal 1992 Dream Team. He snagged Olympic gold in 92 and 96, cementing his status as a global icon. The man lived at the stripe, holding the record for free throws made at 9,787 out of 13,188 attempts. On paper, Karl Malone is a basketball god. He did everything required to sit at the table of legends. Yet, there is a dark cloud. Malone does not command the same respect as the peers he battled against. There is a specific reason his bronze statue in Salt Lake City attracts angry signs rather than adoring fans. There is a reason that, despite 36,000 points, a massive wave of media members, former teammates, and younger, fans are shouting that the league and the Jazz need to cut ties and deplatform him immediately. Whenever Malone tries to weigh in on modern hoops or the greatest of all time debate, nobody listens to the basketball opinion. The chat instantly shifts to his character flaws, and the darkest chapter of this biography starts way back before he played a single minute of pro ball. In 1983, as a 20-year-old college sophomore playing for Louisiana Tech, a scandal was brewing that would follow him forever. Malone fathered a baby with Gloria Bell. The horrifying part? Gloria was only 13 when she delivered the baby. Some investigations suggest the encounter happened when she was merely 12. The age of consent in Louisiana was 17, making this a textbook statutory crime involving a minor. However, the legal system never touched him. No handcuffs, no charges filed. Reports from the Salt Lake Tribune and ESPN revealed that the Bell family decided against prosecution, mostly because Malone was the local golden boy, destined for NBA millions. They figured if he went to prison, it would kill any chance of him providing financial help for the baby. They were stuck between a rock and a hard place. It was a choice made for economic survival, but it effectively let Malone skate by without facing the judge, or the consequences his behavior deserved. That baby, Demetrius Bell, didn't disappear. He grew into an NFL offensive lineman, drafted by the Bills in 2008, grinding in the league until 2015, but he walked that road alone. When Gloria's family sued for paternity in 1986, Malone's second year in the pros, asking for a meager $200 a week, Malone flat out denied the kid was his. The court ordered a DNA test, and the science didn't lie. It pointed straight to Malone as the biological father with massive probability. The judge ordered him to pay $125 a week plus medical costs. Later, they settled out of court, around 88 or 89, a deal that conveniently allowed Malone to avoid claiming the boy publicly. The strategy was crystal clear. Karl Malone wanted to bury the story, and he was willing to write a check to buy silence. Then came the moment that truly cemented his villain status for a new generation of basketball fans. When Demetrius was about 17, he tried to reach out, hoping to connect with his dad. Malone's response? Cold as ice. He told the teenager it was too late to play daddy and that Demetrius was on his own. Demetrius later said it felt like his mother had just visited a sperm bank. That brutal rejection became the headline. that defines Malone today. If you want more unfiltered sports stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Search for Karl Malone today, and you won't just find stats and highlights. You will find a dark cloud that follows him. Everywhere, refusing to dissipate. It is a narrative repeated across the internet, but if you enjoy unfiltered truth, go ahead and smash that like button right now. One podcast episode stripped away the fame and exposed the gritty reality without holding back. The fallout went way beyond simple absenteeism. The host detailed the moment Malone finally stood face to face with his son after nearly 2 decades. The interaction was arguably colder than the years of silence. He meets the kid, now 17 years old, and tells him, "Look, dog, it is too late for me to play. Daddy now. You need to go get it out of the mud and build your own life from scratch." The verdict on what that says about the mailman's character was brutal. The situation with Gloria Bell was not a one-off error in judgment. He also fathered twins, Daryl and Cheryl Ford, with a woman named Bonita Ford back when he was roughly 17 himself. A paternity suit hit the courts in the late 80s, right as he was becoming a superstar. Malone initially dodged DNA testing there too, sparking long and ugly legal wars and contempt charges before finally settling out of court. Reports indicate he basically ignored the twins until they were 17-year-old basketball prospects around 1998, right when their talent made them useful to his brand. This became his playbook. Multiple kids born outside marriage, denying he was the father, fighting child support with high-priced lawyers, and only showing up once those children became successful on their own merits. It is a stain on his legacy that critics refuse to wipe clean. If you appreciate us keeping it real, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Aside from the family drama, his on-court reputation adds another layer of dirt to the story. He is widely remembered as one of the most physically dangerous and cheap shot artists in league history. The worst moment dropped on December 14th, 1991, when Malone smashed his elbow into Isaiah Thomas's head during a clash with the Pistons. It was a savage hit that required Thomas to get 40 stitches. The league suspended Malone for just 1 game and fined him $10,000. A tiny slap on the wrist that did absolutely nothing to stop his bullying style. Legends like Dominique Wilkins called him out for his tactics. In the 97 Western Conference Finals, Hakeem Olajuwon labeled the Jazz dirty after getting battered by the physical style Malone championed. Then you have his terrible take on Magic Johnson. When Magic announced his HIV diagnosis in '91 and tried to make a comeback, Malone was the loudest voice in the room trying to stop him, claiming he was worried about the safety of the other players and their families. Those comments drew massive heat for being incredibly insensitive during one of the most heartbreaking and misunderstood eras in sports history. Malone effectively used his celebrity status to spread fear and ignorance about the virus. That stance has aged horribly as the years have rolled by. And then we have to talk about the Vanessa Bryant situation, which added another charge to his long list of controversies. During his short ring-chasing run with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2003 and 4, playing with Shaq, Kobe, and Peyton at age 40, Kobe accused Malone of making a pass at his wife Vanessa, including a gross comment about hunting for young girls. Malone's own agent basically confirmed parts of the story. That moment created a permanent war between Malone and Kobe. For a guy already carrying the permanent wasn't absolute baggage of the Gloria Bell case, this was like throwing jet fuel on a bonfire of public hate. Yet, despite the involvement with a minor, the paternity battles, the cheap shots, the ignorance toward Magic, and the harassment issues, the NBA kept rolling out the red carpet for Karl Malone at its biggest events. That massive hypocrisy is where this story gets even crazier. We are looking at the league's double standards and the fans who refuse to let it slide. In February 2023, the league asked Malone to be a judge at the All-Star Dunk Contest, one of the most watched nights of the year. There he was on TV, grinning ear to ear, celebrated by the announcers as if the dark clouds that have hovered over his head for decades never happened. The internet, however, was not having it. The backlash was instant, fierce, and loud. Rolling Stone dropped a heavy article demanding Malone be banned from all future NBA festivities, bringing up the Gloria Bell case, the Vanessa Bryant drama, and his entire history of questionable behavior. Critics are arguing that the league shouldn't just be ignoring this, they should be barring him from every single official celebration. At the same time, the Salt Lake Tribune published a scathing editorial demanding the Utah Jazz quit handing Karl Malone a microphone and a stage. While Twitter and Instagram caught fire with backlash, the NBA's headquarters remained dead quiet, not a whisper. Meanwhile, podcast hosts who had already torn apart Malone's off-court history perfectly highlighted the pure hypocrisy of that All-Star weekend. Spectacle with the kind of raw honesty you usually only get from independent creators. After breaking down Malone's VIP treatment at the contest, they dropped a massive reality check by comparing it to how another major sports league handled a nearly identical scenario. And that right there exposes the massive double standard between the association and the NFL. How so? Because Michael Irvin got yanked from the airwaves instantly. The contrast was absolutely brutal in its simplicity. The NFL pulled Irvin from all Super Bowl coverage over a mere allegation of misconduct. No gavel dropped, no verdict read, no DNA evidence, just a claim. Yet, at the exact same time, Karl Malone is sitting courtside at the NBA's Crown Jewel event. Despite his past being a matter of public record and his biological son existing as living proof of the events of 1983, Malone is out there acting like the paternity results are still pending. But the reality is, walking around breathing proof of a statutory offense. The optics of Malone sitting there as a judge for the dunk contest, holding up scorecards for young athletes while the league pretends his own rap sheet doesn't exist, wasn't lost on anyone paying attention. Then came the harsh truth. Nobody in that building had the guts to step to him. Why? Because even retired, the guy is built like a tank. The commentators admitted that Malone's stats on the hardwood are legendary. No one disputes the buckets. But that concession only made their attack on his character sting even more. Then, one host dropped the hammer, separating the Hall of Fame talent from the human being permanently. A specific legal term was used, not mistake, not incident, but the ugly, unvarnished truth. No sugarcoating it. The host shouted out what basketball insiders have been whispering in locker rooms and production meetings for decades. And when they explained why no reporter ever shoves a mic in Malone's face to ask about it, the answer was terrifyingly simple. The dynamic they described is exactly why Malone has enjoyed a VIP pass at NBA events for 30 years. His sheer size, still massive and intimidating well into his 60s, acts as a human shield. The tough questions stay on Twitter. Nobody walks up to Karl Malone in the flesh and repeats what thousands are typing in the comment section. The podcast crew nailed that fear factor. That insight reveals exactly how Malone has kept his status as NBA royalty despite a closet full of skeletons. The league shields him, and social awkwardness does the rest. Everyone is brave enough to judge him from behind a screen. But when a 6'9", 260-pound legend is staring you down with shoulders as broad as a barn door, that bravery vanishes. That disconnect between online fury and real-life silence is precisely why the NBA keeps rolling out the red carpet for him. As long as the protests don't happen inside the arena, the executives can act like everything is fine. Now, if you think the league needs to stop dodging this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The NBA's stubbornness regarding Malone also brought fresh eyes to his rocky retirement saga with the Jazz, which hasn't exactly been a fairy tale. Back in 2012, Malone blasted the Jazz for how they managed the drama between Deron Williams and the legendary Jerry Sloan, basically accusing the team of letting a player run a coaching god out of town. Jazz owner Greg Miller didn't take that lying down. He fired back, calling Malone unstable, unreliable, and straight up dishonest. You rarely hear an owner go that hard at a franchise icon. It was personal. Malone had also reportedly been sniffing around for a coaching gig in Utah and got shut down cold. But as these things go, money talks, and the two sides hugged it out. By the time the Jazz's 50th anniversary rolled around in 2024, Malone was back in the spotlight for the festivities. Naturally, this triggered another tsunami of angry tweets, articles, and fans asking why this team can't seem to cut ties with a guy whose personal history turns every tribute video into a PR nightmare, when reporters actually managed to ask him about the public outrage. Malone sticks to the same arrogant script that has never satisfied anyone. In interviews from 2023, he waved off questions about his past with non-answers like "I don't care" or the classic cop-out, "I'm just human." There is zero footage of Malone actually owning up to the fallout of 1983. No apology to the family, no real acknowledgement of the trauma, just the child support checks a judge forced him to write, and a whole lot of silence. Financial obligations. He originally battled with everything he had to escape. Karl Malone found himself stuck in a bizarre, gritty purgatory. His box score numbers too massive to scrub from the archives, yet his personal history too toxic for the NBA to fully hug him close again. Sure, bronze likenesses of him remained outside the stadium in Salt Lake, and his jersey dominated the skyline inside, but the man's actual standing, that magic dust that turns hard data into beloved folklore, was crumbling, bit by bit, destroyed by the relentless grind of podcast deep dives and resurfaced internet videos. The digital jury was convicting him in agonizing slow motion. Before we dive into the drama, hit that like button if you love raw basketball talk. While Malone kept his mouth shut through most of 2025 regarding his image, the chatter around him was deafening. But then the Mailman decided to deliver a message of his own, a savage critique of LeBron James. If Malone's off-court skeletons were slowly eating away at his public character, his sudden, nationally broadcasted assault on King James was a haymaker thrown in desperation, a calculated bid to remind everyone that he is still a basketball god whose opinion on the GOAT debate matters, no matter how messy his personal biography might be. And listen, you might hate the messenger, but you can't ignore the message. Because the second Karl Malone started talking, the entire sports landscape froze to pay attention. The scene was set in January 2025. Malone agreed to what everyone thought would be a fluff piece, a gentle walk down memory lane with a major network. The executives expected heartwarming tales about the pick and roll perfection with John Stockton, maybe some locker room banter, safe observations about today's shooters, and a polite nod to the new breed of superstars. Instead, they got a man who stared down the lens and launched a tactical nuclear strike on LeBron James's resume. There was no sugarcoating, no political correctness, and none of those soft "he's definitely up there" answers that legends usually give to dodge. Malone chose violence. He opened with the philosophical question that defines the whole argument. What is the gap between being excellent and being the absolute best? He asked, "What metrics are we using, man? Because that is the battle I am picking today." Being a superior athlete is one thing. Right. If we strip away the trophies, is he just better? For Malone, the line in the sand was vivid and absolute. You can be a better athlete with higher cumulative stats, sure, but earning the title of greatest of all time requires a different clearance level, one that LeBron's 4-6 finals record simply cannot access. Malone immediately shifted focus to his gold standard for immortality: Michael Jordan's pristine 6-0 record in the championship round, the 6 finals MVPs, and the killer fact that most of those series never even reached a Game 7. That was the bar Malone demanded everyone clear. He wasn't just looking at the math. He was judging the soul, the mindset, and the ruthlessness required to win. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as we break this down further. Malone then zeroed in on what he considers the fatal flaw in the Book of LeBron: the reliance on super teams. He dissected the career path like a lawyer closing a case. 7 seasons in Cleveland during the first stint, 0 rings. Then came the decision. LeBron jumping on live TV to tell the world he was running to South Beach to link up with Dwayne. Wade and Chris Bosh, 2 superstars who were already iconic. And even with that loaded deck in Miami, LeBron only walked away with 2 titles out of 4 tries, a 50% strike rate with a galaxy of stars around him. When the Heat era faded, he went back to Ohio, but only after the team secured Kevin Love, another perennial all-star, to stack the odds again. That maneuver got him 1 ring before he bolted once more, this time to Los Angeles. Knowing Anthony Davis, a top 5 talent, was waiting in the wings at every single turn, there was a curated co-star, sometimes 2 or 3, ready to carry the load. In contrast, Jordan's narrative was polar opposite. He dug his heels into the Chicago hardwood through the beatings, the failures, and the playoff exits. He didn't flee to Detroit to ride with Isaiah Thomas. He didn't try to form a mega team with Magic or Bird. He conquered them. He took a raw kid named Scottie Pippen and forged him into a legend. he took the Bulls from a laughingstock and turned them into the most feared empire in sports history. And he did it all wearing the same colors. That, Malone insisted, is the unbridgeable canyon between simple greatness and being the GOAT. Then, Malone went for the kill shot regarding clutch time. Ever wonder what separates a star from a true legend? It comes down to killer instinct. Malone did not just step up, he went straight for the jugular, delivering a clutch performance that silenced the doubters and proved why he belongs at the top. If you love witnessing high-stakes history like this, do not forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Because honestly, those are the defining moments that separate greatness from the greatest. You know the feeling, clock winding down, tie game, whole arena holding its breath. It is the moment that defines a legend. And according to Karl Malone, that is exactly where the separation begins. He laid it out plain. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant did not just tolerate the Kobe Bryant weight of the world on their shoulders. They were addicted to it. Their eyes got wide when it was do or die. That killer instinct, that absolute need to take the final shot, is what put them in a different stratosphere. Then Malone dropped the hammer with a question that drives LeBron James loyalists up the wall. Why does the King seem to shy away from the big moment? How often have we watched him shovel the rock to a bench player in the dying seconds, terrified of taking the heat if the ball clanks off the rim? Then Malone twisted the knife, bringing up the ghost that still haunts LeBron's career, the 2011 NBA Finals. Remember that? The Miami Heat were heavy favorites to crush Dirk Nowitzki and the aging Mavericks. It was set up to be a coronation, the series where James would shut up the haters and prove the decision was genius. Instead, it was a nightmare. LeBron put up fewer than 18 points per game, his worst scoring output in any finals series ever. But it was the fourth quarters that were truly damning. In the very moment superstars are built to dominate and take over, James looked passive, rattled, and downright scared to shoot the ball, something a player with his hype should never, ever do. Dallas took the ring in 6 games. Guys like Jason Terry, J. Barea, and Sean Marion looked like the alphas on the court, playing with more heart and guts in the clutch than the guy who spent the whole summer telling us he was a champion. Malone did not mince words. He called it a total meltdown on the world's biggest stage. He argues that this collapse is burned into LeBron's resume forever, a blemish that no scoring record or highlight reel can ever wash away. And before we get to the fallout, if you are enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more hoops history. Now, what gave Malone's words extra sting was the source. The Mailman is not preaching from a pedestal of rings. Karl Malone knows the bitter taste of defeat better than anyone. He went to the finals in 1997 and 98, only to run into the buzzsaw that was Jordan's Bulls. He posted video game numbers for decades, dominated the power forward spot like nobody else yet, retired without the jewelry. But here is the key. He never walked around calling himself the greatest of all time. That humility matters here. Malone was not critiquing from a place of arrogance. He was speaking with the gritty wisdom of a guy who knows exactly how hard it is to win, and he believes that perspective gives him the right to say LeBron's self-proclaimed GOAT status is shaky at best. Naturally, when this hit the airwaves, the reaction was explosive. The internet caught fire. Social media feeds were flooded with hot takes, reaction clips, and memes spreading faster than a fast break. YouTube videos titled "Malone Destroys LeBron" racked up millions of views overnight. But amidst all that noise, the most shocking reaction was the one that never happened. LeBron James, a guy who usually tweets about everything from Taco Tuesday to global politics, went completely dark. No clapback, no passive-aggressive emojis, not a peep from his agent Rich Paul or the usual suspects in his inner circle. These are the same folks who usually go to war on Twitter the second anyone disrespects the king. This time, total, absolute radio silence. And honestly, that silence spoke volumes. In the weeks following, other legends started coming out of the woodwork, quietly co-signing Malone's take with likes and subtle jabs at LeBron's claim to the throne. By questioning the championship DNA required to be the undisputed best, Malone voiced what a lot of old-school icons had been whispering in private locker rooms for years. Once the Mailman delivered that message, it opened the floodgates in a way Team LeBron could not spin. Do not forget to subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the game. One thing is for sure, this story is not finished. Karl Malone's legacy is a complicated battlefield, fought over by fans who revere his on-court dominance and critics who refuse to let his off-court history slide. He may have hung up his sneakers 20 years ago, but the war over his standing in the game is still raging, and the score is far from settled. Who do you think won this round? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and check out the other videos on your screen now.